the first thought I had was that John Brennan is not someone you want to mess around with. This is a guy who was CIA director, led counterterrorism efforts, going to the highest levels of national intelligence under Presidents Bush, Presidents Obama, worked in the Clinton White House. He knows where a lot of things are. He's a very tough guy. So that's number one, is that if they're going to come after somebody, he is somebody who can really be a bulwark against miscellaneous charges. The second thing, though, is I started looking into this case, and it has all the makings of classic Trump DOJ. They couldn't get a prosecutor to take it. They found one of the South Florida ones to do it. They couldn't find a judge to take it. They found Judge Cannon. And I want to read what Brennan said in the filing today. Quote, "In light of this Justice Department's highly irregular conduct, courts now recognize that it no longer deserves the presumption of regularity in certain categories of cases, and in particular in those against the president's perceived adversaries." It's a sham.
That phrase, presumption of regularity, sounds benign, right? Sounds garden variety. That is such a scathing thing to say, that the courts, and they function as a court system on the presumption of regularity, that everybody in there is an officer of the court doing due diligence, being truthful, honest, and frank with the court system. What John Brennan is saying is they can't be trusted. They can't be trusted. And I'll tell you what, judges have shown their distrust in this Department of Justice in just the last few weeks. I'll get to that in a moment. But this court filing, the one Luke just quoted, is as subtle as a sledgehammer to the ribs. I mean, this is full of fiery words and sharp elbows. He's saying it's a conspiracy theory that is the basis of an investigation into him. He is saying the Department of Justice is working on a conspiracy theory and doing so at the president's becking to satisfy Trump. And he's saying to save your records. Make sure, Your Honor, that you order these people to save their records, because this thing's going to fall apart, and we expect to take action down the road, and we want the records not to be destroyed. That's what he's saying in this complaint. But he's also leaning into something here. Judges have already called out the Department of Justice for not being honest or for not being trustworthy. We saw that in Virginia on the slush fund. When Todd Blanche says, take my word for it, we're not moving forward with the slush fund, a judge said, we can't take your word for it. Not right now, not you.
I think that's both of those are very excellent points. And on the fact that the judge, that Brennan rather, has put this before the judge to, hey, we want the appropriate accounting here. We want to make sure that the documents preserved. From my perspective, never having done litigation, but Lord knows spent a lot of time with litigators. The reality, not because I was in trouble, y'all, just because in my firm they were down the hall. But the reality of it is when you put that out there, the way the Brennan team has, what you're saying in addition to we want to preserve the documents, because presumably there are documents that back up the fact that they're bringing charges in the first place. There are documents that show that Mr. Brennan had committed crimes. And so they want to know, we'd like to see what those documents are. And this is the other sweet part of what they're doing, because those documents don't exist, because there were no crimes. And so now all of a sudden they're in a hard place where they're going to have to figure out, well, this is what we say the crime is, but we don't have a document. We're supposed to preserve something that doesn't exist. So this pincer move by that request, to me, is very, very important and very, very powerful. And I just love the way he's drawn the line in the sand with this bully, as he smacks the government upside the head and go, okay, you coming after me? Get ready to play.
Feels like a preemptive strike, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly.
And Jerome Powell executed a similar preemptive strike when he believed he was the subject of a politicized investigation by this Department of Justice. But you all remember your political days. You would tell the other team, save your records, because we're going to be in the majority someday and we're going to launch investigations. We hear a lot of Democrats saying that right now. Some of it's swagger, right? Or some of it's, trying to get in the other team's head. But in this case, he's asking the court to order the Department of Justice to save its records. And that is such a damning indictment of the trustworthiness or lack thereof of this Department of Justice. They're not being...
Because they're supposed to save them.
They're supposed to
They shouldn't have to be told.